We blew $232,000 on Facebook ads in 1 month following one strategy I would never recommend. And in this video, I'm going to show you what that strategy is, why you should avoid it, and what to do instead. So welcome back to the channel, guys. Drew came here, CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. We help health professionals scale coaching businesses without the grind. And I'm going to walk you through a big mistake, not a big mistake, it's a big learning that we're happy to take on so that our clients don't have to learn the hard lesson. I often tell my clients, let us spend the money and learn so that we can teach you what we actually have mastered, right? So we never teach our clients anything we personally haven't spent money on and mastered. And if we make mistakes like this, well, we'll never recommend it to them. So let me give you the rundown of what this looks like. So just for context, we've had 84 consecutive months of positive ROAS on cash collected in the first 30 days. So that's about 7 years. Every single month, we've been positive on our ad spend. We spend multiple six figures every single month, and it's the main driver of our business. But we always test things, right? So this one test was very interesting because I never want to be so dogmatic that I don't see other opportunities, but at the same time, I want to be very careful not to chase every little shiny object. So I'm always considering the context of our business and looking at, does this test make sense? Is it something that could maybe speak to a segment of our market that we're not really addressing? And that was kind of the thinking behind this. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through first and foremost, like what our main business model looks like. So we call it the perfect client pipeline. I'll just call it PCP for short. And there are 4 steps. Okay, so we have ads to a webinar, and this is a on-demand evergreen. It's not like you Tuesday at 2 o'clock type of thing. It's like you opt in and you can watch it right away. Application and phone call. Okay. Now there are nuances here because the ads actually don't go direct into the webinar. The reality of this is that they actually go to an opt-in page. Once someone opts in, they go to the webinar. And this is important, okay? The webinar, in our case, is 2 hours. Caveat, it's 50 minutes, and then there's an hour and 10 minutes of video testimonials, okay? So if someone wants to stick around and watch an hour and a half of social proof, they can do that. So let's just call this 60 minutes. This has been our bread and butter for 7 years. This is how we built Healthpreneur from 0 to multiple figures. This is exactly how we help our clients every single day. They've generated more than $217 million with this model. Now, there are many, many, many nuances to making this work. And I see people like, oh, like I'll just build a funnel. Okay, have fun with that. Anyone can build a funnel. Very few people can actually build a client generating pipeline profitably. And that's why they come to us. So that's been our bread and butter for years. So I decided to run a test. I'm like, hey, let's try something else out because I have a lot of friends in this space and I see what they're doing and I have conversations with them. And so what we tried was ads right to a VSL, and it was 7 minutes, and right to a call. Now, the thinking behind this is that your best people don't want to sit through a longer piece of content like a webinar. They're busy. They have more money than they do time. And I thought to myself, I have never seen that to be true. I've been in business for 20 years now, since 2005 online. I have never once seen that to be true. But I thought to myself, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe they're right and I'm wrong. So let's give it a test. So shall we see what happens? So we spent $232,000 on this specific funnel in 1 month, okay? So here's what happens. We paid 4 times less for a call. So cost per call booked went down 4-fold. That's amazing, right? Yeah, awesome. We, unfortunately, so obviously on the back end of this, there is the potential sale, right? The challenge is that because of the funnel metrics here, we actually decreased cash collected. So cash collected, so this is going to be whatever the first payment was on the enrollment, was 1/4 of what it normally is from our perfect client pipeline. That's a problem because if you want to scale ads and you can't liquidate ad spends, you're going to run out of cash pretty quickly, or you're going to be living off debt on a credit card. And if this ad spends, that becomes a really big danger for your business. Here's what else was interesting. Our close rate was 10%. 10%. That's shocking. Well, what was it for the webinar? In that particular month, the close rate was 50%. Our year to date, 32%. So even though we're paying 4 times less for a call, we're closing 10% of these calls, we're collecting 1/4 as much cash, and here's the kicker. Our cost to acquire a client was 2 times as expensive as our perfect client pipeline. Now, when you look at those numbers and you look at the amount of money that was spent, $232,000, naturally it's not very encouraging. And if you're like me and you're like, what the F are we doing here? Why would we ever do this again? Well, the reality is that we don't. We're not going to do this again. So let me give you a couple lessons, what I learned from this process. So number one, we spent, again, almost $233,000 on this funnel. I don't know if you caught this, but we're not capturing leads. No leads. All that ad spend went right to the VSL. And just for context, what was the offer on the VSL? It was very direct about, internally we call it a direct offer VSL. So essentially what it is like, here's how we can help you. Here's, if you meet these qualifications or criteria, here's exactly what we're going to do to help you in your business. If you want, front of line access, book a call below and we can walk you through what it looks like. So it wasn't so much of an educational play. It was more of like, here's the offer. Do you want it? Book a call. And the thinking behind this is the following. So in any given market, you have people that are going to be on different sides of the spectrum. You have information seekers or information seeking, and then you have buyers. And so the thinking was, well, maybe people who are opting in to watch a webinar are more in the education, information seeking phase, and those who are just ready to solve a problem, just give them the direct offer VSL. And that was kind of the split. We're like, well, let's see if it makes sense. And to be honest, it didn't make sense, which to me is very interesting. Okay. Now, the other thing that I haven't mentioned here is the number of canceled calls was astronomical on this VSL funnel. We canceled 2/3 of every single call that was booked. And this is why obviously the cost to acquire a client was a lot higher. How people showed up through this funnel was ambivalent. It was ambivalent, like, who are you guys? I'm not exactly sure what you do. How can you help me? There was and I'm not saying every single person, but when we look at the average over hundreds and hundreds of calls booked, just generally people were a little bit less bought in and they were a little bit more apprehensive to actually make a decision. We actually had some very good quality apps come through, some good quality people having calls with, but they just weren't ready to do anything. And yes, we enrolled a bunch of clients through this funnel, but when we compare apples to apples, it just didn't make sense for us to keep sending money here. So here's a couple lessons. So mistake number one, or lesson number one, is we didn't capture leads. We didn't capture leads. It was ads right to the VSL. And so if I'm looking at the math here, if we had spent this amount of money on our perfect client pipeline, we would have captured about 4,000 leads, and that would have roughly equated to 40 new clients. And over the course of 12 months, that would have been more than $1 million in revenue. So we essentially fordoed, if that's even the word, $1 million plus in revenue to test something out. And this is important to remember. When you would launch new tests, you're not guaranteed better performance. Okay, but in this case, the opportunity cost was we actually lost more than $1 million in contract value by not putting this money to our perfect client pipeline. The second and really, really important thing that I want you to think about, and this is very, very important in today's day and age, is this: bingers are buyers. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I'm a huge proponent of having people jump through hoops. The Marines have a saying, if you want the most, make it easy. If you want the best, make it hard. And this has been the core fundamental premise of all of our marketing since day one. The other thing that I consider when we look at a funnel, okay? A funnel, call it a filter, if you will. So if I'm looking at ads, going to a webinar, going to an application, going to a call, what happens? naturally people leave. They leave the funnel, right? That's exactly what you want. Oh, that ad is too long. I don't have time to watch a webinar. I'm not going to fill out this application. I don't want to jump on a call. That's the purpose of the perfect client pipeline. It's to weed people away. It's to get rid of the tire kickers. If you're busy as it is, if you're a busy practitioner and you want to scale your business, you want to attract clients, do not put a book a call button on your website. It's the same thing as essentially what I just did here. There's no barrier to entry. There's no romance. There's no binging of content before someone can actually speak with you. And you get terrible quality people who are not committed to improving their situation. And we think that by making it easy for them, it's actually better to attract better quality people. I have not seen that to be the case ever. Now, is the perfect client pipeline 100% perfect and every single person who books a call? No, for sure. There's flakes. There's people who don't actually meet the criteria you put out there. But it gets us closer to the people who actually want to do something. So when I say that bingers are buyers, this is one of the most important things I want you to remember this year and moving forward. And I'll give you a couple examples of this. YouTube Shorts, YouTube long-form content. Ask any creator on the planet. I literally believe 100% of them will tell you, I would assume 100% will tell you, long-form content will always produce better quality subscribers and better quality customers, clients for their business. Why is that? Because they're consuming more of your stuff. It's really simple. If I look at the comments alone, this is actually very interesting and a good example of this. If you look, or if you have a YouTube channel, if you don't, if I look at my YouTube channel and I look at the comments that people leave on my shorts versus my long, here's what it looks like. Stupid, ridiculous comments half the time on the shorts. Why? Because these retards are scrolling through and there's no thought. And it's a different person who's scrolling through a 5-second video reel compared to someone who's going to sit down and consume content for hours in long form. So the types of comments I see on the long form content are like, this is the best I've ever seen. I can't believe why you're not charging for this. This is what I see on the long form stuff. Short form, absolute garbage. So if we look at that, if we chunk up, if we are only putting out short form type of stuff, and I'm not saying exactly just shorts or reels on Instagram, I'm saying in the form of a conversion funnel. If you don't get people jumping through hoops, if you do not get people consuming a longer webinar, even though it's contrarian to, oh, people are busy these days. They're not fucking busy. They're not busy. They're busy scrolling their phone. Yeah, on Christmas Day, on New Year's Eve, while they're sitting on the toilet, it's all bullshit. People are consuming more than ever before. They're not consuming things they don't care about. That's the difference. So I don't care if you're a busy doctor or the busiest person on the planet. When it's a must, people will put time aside. They do. And if we don't believe they do, then just ask yourself this question. Is it feasible that some of these super busy, super successful people might sit down and watch a movie every week, or Netflix, or their favorite show on YouTube? Probably. I do. And that might equate to a few hours. So is it fair to say that if they found something that had a very good premise for potentially solving their problem, hosted in a masterclass or a webinar, that they might have time to put aside to watch it? And the answer is, yeah. But if your stuff sucks, they're not going to watch it. Okay. So this is the key to remember: is bingers are buyers. I have not seen this to be the opposite. Okay. People who pay no attention pay no money. The less people pay, the less they pay attention. The less attention people pay to you, the less likely they are to pay you. So again, webinar versus a quick VSL. 60 minutes, 70 minutes. Oh yeah, 7 minutes is definitely the best way to go. Well, maybe not. 60 minutes, well, people don't have time. Well, some people don't. Some people do. The other thing that I'll mention on this, and this is probably the biggest thing, okay? So if we look, we're going to call this the trust index. So this is trust, and this is years. Okay, so if we look at, call this 1950, and this is 2025 and beyond, here's what's happened with trust. It's gone down. It's like, you can look at the research on this. Trust is it's the lowest it's ever been in 40 years. And this is a very, very, very big problem for you who's running a coaching business where you have thousands of other people saying or doing the same things. So how, especially online, how are you going to build trust with a marketplace when you don't have the luxury of them walking into your clinic? Well, the only way to do this, and I have another video on this channel called The Trust Factor that shows you, like, it breaks down the equation on this. The only way to do this is for people to consume more of your stuff. Everyone talks about attention is new currency. I think it's bullshit. I think it's a good starting point, but attention without the bridge called trust leads to nowhere. And this is why there are so many floozy influencers out there who are putting out clickbaity garbage, who have no experience doing what they're actually teaching. And they're looking at, oh, this person's going to 5 viral content themes for 2025. Guys, it's ridiculous, okay? All of us can sniff out bullshit when we see it. And all of us can sniff out experts when we hear them or see them. And I'll tell you this, you as a health professional, it has never been a better time to crush it in business because you have the one thing that everyone else who's trying to mimic you doesn't have: expertise. Just like me. I've been online since 2005. Very, very few people in the health space can even come close to that. So we have a lot of people that copy what we do, and then they build out coaching programs because they're experts now, and they charge a fraction of what we charge because they're shit. And that's okay. I'll take it as flattery. But the reality is that expertise, wisdom always rises to the top. And in a day and age when trust is at an all-time low and skepticism is an all-time high, the most important thing you can do for your business is to get people to spend more time on your brand. So if you don't have a YouTube channel, you don't have to start one, trust me. But what it does mean is if you are running any kind of traffic, like ads or anything, the more people consume of your stuff, the better it's going to be. So what does this look like in application? Well, very simple. When you run an ad, generally with our clients and even our ads, they are very long. But Yuri, people don't have time to read it. Exactly. Ciao. I don't want the most. I want the best. But Yuri, people don't have time to watch a long webinar. Too bad. They're not serious. Let them stay overweight. Let them deal with their health conditions. Your job is not to help everyone, okay? The sooner you recognize you can't help everyone, the sooner you'll be successful in your business. So the goal is that we need people who are cold, skeptical, who don't even know we exist, to consume more of your magic. That is the only way in an online business to build more trust with them. Assuming you're not seeing people in person, you're not doing live events. If you want to do that stuff, that's fine, wherever. But I'm just saying, for the vast majority of you guys watching this, you have to get people to spend more time on your stuff. So you have two options. You can build out a huge content ecosystem, which will take you a decade. It took me 7 years of my first business to do that. When I say 7 years, it took me 7 years to make my first $1 million. That's like, it was a whole ecosystem. You know, hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube. We have 1.4 million visitors on our blog per month. Whatever. I'm not saying it to do that stuff. I'm sharing that because I've done all that stuff. And when I started Healthpreneur, I had none of that stuff. For the first 3 years, all we did for the first 3 years was the perfect client pipeline. We went from $0 to $1 million in 7 weeks. And this is still the main pipeline that drives the vast majority of our business to multiple 8 figures. And we will continue to pump more and more money into this. Now, obviously, I have a YouTube channel. We have a podcast. We have an Instagram. Yeah, that happened 3 years after we started the business because we want to build a $1 billion brand that extends beyond my lifetime. We want to transform a broken, sick care system that doesn't help anyone. We want to empower practitioners to get their message in front of millions of people. And we want to empower the average person to become their own doctor through transformational coaching, not by prescribing bullshit. This is going to take a long time, and we have to build a huge ecosystem around this. And that's why I do this stuff. But please understand that I don't need to do this stuff. The vast majority of our business doesn't come from these videos. It comes from our ads and our perfect client pipeline. So that's why I think more than ever before, it's really important to almost do the complete opposite of what most people are telling you to do. And what most people are doing these days, what we're seeing a lot of, is these ads to a type of offer, which is like, we'll get you 500 clients in 5 minutes or you don't pay a single thing. And to be honest, that stuff can work, right? To a certain extent. But I don't think a lot of these businesses have legs to go beyond a few years. They're, for the lack of a better term, well-oiled promotion machines. Anyways, I'll get off the soapbox around that. The third lesson, so the first lesson was not capturing leads, a big mistake. If you're running ads, you have to capture the lead. Opt-in page, name and email at the very minimum. 2 is bingers or buyers, and the less people commit, the less you're committed. So get them to jump through hoops. You'll get better quality clients on the outside of that, on the back end of it. Third is do not let vanity metrics or top of funnel metrics distract you from what actually matters. So if I was only looking at this right here, and initially you have to look at something, right? So it's like initially you get some traction, like, man, we're getting a lot of calls booked and it's costing us little to nothing. Cool. You have to start with that. But as things percolate down the pipeline, you have to start looking at stuff like this. Cost to acquire a client. Like, it doesn't matter if you're getting calls booked for 5 pennies. If it costs you $5 million to convert a client, what are we doing? So, and how we work with our clients, typically we'll get them to focus on cost per lead first. Then once they start getting calls booked, we shift the focus to which ads are producing the highest volume and the best cost per call booked. And then we look at, well, which of those ads are producing clients? And the further you get down the pipeline, the more data you get, you have to put more attention on the bottom of funnel metrics. Because if you think that like, oh, this ad got a lot of shares, who cares? I'll tell you this from my experience. Our best ads get the most heat in the comments. They don't get the most shares. They get the most hate in the comments because I'm being very polarizing with my opinion. And this will be the same for you. If you're trying to build a business to get people to like your stuff, it's going to be very hard to convert them. So how you stand out, how you differentiate is you speak your truth. I've shared this on every single one of my videos almost. You have to like unapologetically share what you believe to be true, just like I am here. I think this ad to VSL funnel is a complete waste of time. And maybe there are other people that are doing this successfully, but I don't know the back end of what their business looks like. So I don't know. But I'll tell you this, the one thing that we are doing differently with this VSL funnel as the next test that we're testing right now, as of this video, is we are driving ads to an opt-in page and then to the same VSL. So I looked at the initial test and I was like, well, I would never run that test again. Never. You couldn't pay me to do that. However, I wanted to give it one more shot with one little addition, which is what if we put an opt-in page before the VSL? At the minimum, we'll collect the leads. We can nurture them, build a relationship with them, and see what that percolates down the pipeline over the first couple days, couple weeks, couple months. We know that in our business, 62% of people who opt into our perfect client pipeline purchase in the first 30 days. If we see numbers like that with this, and the cost to acquire a client is positive and it's really, close to the perfect client pipeline, then yeah, why not run both? Because the messaging around either one is a little bit different. So once again, in our case, the webinar, the perfect client pipeline, is a little bit more about discover the system that we use with our clients to help them X, Y, or Z. Okay, so that's the webinar. It's more of an information, kind of like learning about this type of thing. The direct offer is very much like, we'll install the world's most proven marketing system into your business, 100% done for you in under 8 weeks, or you don't pay, which is actually very true. And it's been true for us for a long time now. But the difference here is that we're being much more direct with that message. But in order for people to access that video, they first have to opt in. So we're still in the process, and it's still early days, to seeing if running both of them combined makes sense. And right now, I can tell you just on preliminary data after doing this for about a month, is that on the VSL funnel with the opt-in, we're seeing similar patterns. More no-shows, more cancellations, more flaky people. There are some very good apps in there as well. But once again, it's different. Right? And so again, we're going to let this play out and we're going to make a decision in about 30 to 45 days. You say, okay, what makes the most sense for the priorities of the business and with respect to allocating our resources with our ad spend? Because at the end of the day, when you're running ads, the most important thing is if you have $100, where do you put the $100? Because if you put it here, you can't put it there. Or if you put 75 here, but it could have been better allocated over here. The opportunity cost, like I showed you in our case, was more than $1 million in contract value and lost revenue. And so this is why it's really important for you, the business owner, to understand the full landscape of your business, to understand that it's much more than just cost per call booked. You have to look at things all the way through, and then you have to understand how these people even show up as clients on the inside relative to the offer they saw on the outside. And sometimes it takes a moment to allow this thing to play out for you to be like, you know what, shit, like maybe we'll never do that again, or maybe it was amazing. And so I wanted to share this with you guys first and foremost because I think it's, well, one, I wish I would have documented more of these tests when I first started my business in 2005. I was telling my team this, we actually created a marketing lab, which is kind of like a documented playbook for a bunch of tests that we run. And I'm like, man, I wish I started this in 2005. There are so many lessons I have had to learn over and over again. And that sucks, right? Because you make the same mistake more than once. Like, dude, what didn't you learn? So part of why I'm shooting these videos of like pulling back the curtains is first and foremost, so I can share this with our team. So it's like, hey guys, remember that test? Here's the video, watch, here's what happened. So it's almost like an internal playbook for us. Second, I want you guys to see what happens behind the curtains of an actual business. I don't like talking about theory. It's ridiculous, it's draining, and there's many other people on the internet that can, do that stuff for you. I want to give you guys what actually happens in a business, and I want to be very honest with you guys. As I talked about, trust is everything. And I'm only going to share stuff with you that's working in our business or not working, and I'll share, what that led to. And I think it's important because it's important you understand the context of what happens, what goes into building a great business. And if you've enjoyed this video and you want more stuff like this, let me know in the comments below because we have lots of other tests and stuff that we'll be sharing over the coming months. And if you're new here, hit subscribe because I've got hundreds of other videos in this channel to help you with your marketing, your sales, your mindset, your money, all that stuff to help you build a successful health business online. So if you're a health practitioner and you're sick and tired of the clinical grind, you want more freedom, you want to help more people, you want to make a lot more money in the service of others, this is the place to be. And everything you need is going to be here. And obviously, if you'd like our help to, work more closely with you, there's probably a link below this video that can take you to that next step. But for now, thanks for joining me. Hope this is useful, and I'll see you in the next video. I've sent hundreds of millions of emails over the past 20 years, helping thousands of people to better health and obviously helping health professionals better businesses. And today I'm going to share with you 3 interesting email marketing tests that we've recently run that I think can make you a lot more money.